Hello everybody out there on YouTube. It is I, the Marx Engineer, and today I'm going to be showing you guys part of my Marx collection. And if there's something that you'll notice throughout this entire little series of videos is that a lot of these engines and cars come in pairs of two. I have no idea why, but they all have just happened to come in pairs of two. Weird. So we're going to start out with the first 999 I had ever gotten, which was this one. I received it after winning it on eBay, I believe in a bid. And when I got it, it was all chipped and whatnot, and of course I repainted part of it blue, and the entire tender was painted blue as well. For the longest while, that's how I had it, until I then realized what these engines used to look like, and that was that sometimes they'd have painted lines, and some of them even had painted cowcatchers. And I actually liked that look a lot better than what I was going for, because what I was going for, it had a brass colored smokestack, and it had all these fancy schmancy colors, and really the 999 wasn't meant to be a fancy engine. It was more or less kind of the stock standard Marx locomotive, so I decided to go under the first ever restoration project I ever did. And it was so good that I actually contacted one of the guys who has a mint condition 999 and compared it, and he said that mine looked almost, if not just as good, but the only real dead giveaway of it being a restoration of the domes, because the domes don't have that enamel finish. They're actually pretty dull. I have no idea why. I've tried fixing it, but I just don't get it. They just never seem to turn out right. And this is a post-war 999, and how do I know that? Well, for starters, it has a bogeyed tender, and it did used to have a tilt coupler. However, I replaced that with a knuckle coupler later on, so that it would be compatible with my other O-scale rolling stock and Lionel stuff. And also another dead giveaway that this is a post-war Marx engine are the wheels, as these are not the spoked wheels. These are the I like to call them Japanese wheels, because they look like those Japanese steam engine wheels. They've got those multiple little rings, but these wheels, from what I can remember, are inspired by the New York Central, I believe they're called cap dish wheels. I mean, I really don't remember what it's called, but I think that's what they're called. But they're basically the ones that were used on like on the streamlined Hudsons, or the ones that had like the streamlined wheels. Also, if there's another thing that you'll notice is that this is a 240 as opposed to the standard 242 arrangement. Why is that? Well, pretty simple. It just didn't come with a lead truck, and I just have never been able to find another one. Also, if I am correct, I do believe that the 999 is a very, very loose interpretation of the New York Central Hudson class, as they both have the water heaters, the same type of bell placement, and also they've got the same amount of domes, the external water heater, and they've also got the classic New York Central firebox, which, as you'll see here, the cab kind of slopes inward, and you've got the firebox bulge right here. And of course, on the real Hudson class engines, you've got a slightly similar affair, albeit it's not the exact same, it's fairly similar to it. And yeah, that's really all I can say on the 999. Most of the detail on it, you really have to see this thing in person if you really want to get a feel for how it is, because it's got so much molded detail, but most of it right now is kind of just engulfed by all this black paint on it. And it's also got a, all the white paint you see on that, all that's been done by hand, and of course it's got the 999 headboard. And I have not actually touched this paint up in such a long time that it's beginning to chip, but I'll eventually get to it. And now on to the second 999. This is my pre-war 999. And of course, I know a lot of you are going to say, how do you know that? Well, this one actually has the spoked wheels. It's got a pre-war motor in it. But of course, pretty much it's the exact same as the post-war one. The only real discernible difference are the wheels, and also this one has a trailing truck, so it is a 242 wheel arrangement. And it has a classic New York Central style tender, except this one does not have the bogies on it, it just has the single truck arrangement. Also, it has a standard Marx hook and tab coupler. And the handrails on the top actually used to be up, but for some reason one of them snapped on one side, so I just pressed them down so that way they won't go flying off. And I think it looks a little bit better that way. Now, originally when I got this 999, I got it in a box with a whole bunch of other Marx engines, and it was just awful. It had very little paint. It was basically like a very light gray, and it had pock marks all over it, still does. And it looked like part of the smokestack had been basically smacked away. So what I did is I took it to my shop and I just buffed it out a lot with a, not a grinder, but one of those buffing wheels. And I tried to get the metal as smooth as possible, but it wasn't very, easy. And then afterwards, I completely resprayed and enameled it. But then that coat, basically, I used the wrong clear coat, and it ended up dissolving. So I just flaked it all off, and then I just repainted it by hand using a gloss coat acrylic paint. And I will say this: it looks quite a lot better. In fact, in some ways, I'd say it looks better than my restored post-war. But I actually showed this to one of my train friends, and he was so impressed by it that he was like, "Hey, I've got this original 1930s Blue Comet. Would you mind refurbishing it?" And of course I said yes, but that kind of went nowhere after a while because he found someone else to do it, even though I was offering it at a cheaper price for him to do it. But oh well, that's his choice, not mine. But anyways, both of these 999s run pretty well. The only real complaint I have is that at times this one has a tendency to want to just, just stammer on the tracks. But aside from that, I think they're both pretty good. I've never done a speed test on both of them, but I know that this one is probably the faster of the two due to this one having been run a lot more than this one, because this one, from the guy that I got it from, said that he got it from another guy at a garage sale, that he had said that he had got this engine when he was about 13 or 14 years old, played with it for about a year, and then just packed it up and never got it back out again, and he gave it to his grandson, which he basically trashed it. And then he put it up for the sale, and that's where that other guy got it. So yeah. So after a bit of some cleaning and whatnot, it was doing pretty good. I've still got to clean some of it as it still has quite a bit of rust on it. But one thing that really is amazing is that the metal on the the valve gear is actually still shiny. It's still got that like chrome finish, whereas the one on my post-war one, if you can't really see it right there, it is very dirty and very dull. But it still has some shine on the actual connecting rod. So yeah. But anyways, there you go. You've got the Marx 999s. I hope you enjoyed this. Look forward to the next video.